Alright, let's get into the reaction, why don't we? I think I've put it off long enough. Let's get into this. Flavor Folly presents.
That morning, just me and you, without your
Ooh, okay. I like the voice.
Our promises bound, our sights we long outgrew. A curtain that shades a late but morning sun. A weeping window wails for days come undone. If I live to be a weather vane, always pointing off a way to lead you on the fly away.
Okay. Okay. Flavor Folly about to break some hearts. I can already tell it's going to. Sounds pretty. Yeah, this is a very pretty voice. You know, it's always... Since V and Vocaloid always kind of surprises me. Just because there's so many of them out there, you know? And they all have such unique sounds. And some of them just sound so good. Like, obviously, you know, you got your basic Vocaloids. You know, you got Miku, and you've got Teto, you've got Rin and Len, and all of them. But some of them, I feel like, lesser known ones, you know, such as Eleanor. You know, she, like you guys have told me, she was the first synth V, but she's definitely not, you know, as known. But you also hear about this, and it's like, you know, it sounds so much like a real girl singing. Obviously, you still kind of got that robotic, you know, underlining, but in the reality of it, a lot of people wouldn't know. So let's just kind of let's break down into these lyrics a little bit. So that morning, just me and you, with the zero views for 2. And the animation, you know, it's a very, very simple animation as well, but I feel like it's videos like these where, you know, you have to get a much I feel like a simple animation fits. Yeah, I would say before Butcher Vanity, they were definitely not as known. Yeah, Flavor Folly, I think, is my favorite Vocaloid group, just because the songs, they use a lot of different people, and then, you know, they use a lot of different people, and then they just write good songs. I mean, when you have 3 or 4 songwriters making one song, they're bound to be good. It's also because her voice banks were scrubbed from Dream Tonics. And why'd they do that? Interesting. So yeah, why'd they scrub her voice banks? I mean, she sounds so good, I don't see why they would do that. Alright, so going back into these lyrics here. So, our promises bound by sights we outgrew. And yeah, just a certain dyed shades unlaid by morning sun. You don't know? Huh. A weeping window wails for days come undone. Yeah, she just, you know, you see her just, you know, kind of crying in the window here. So if I live to be a weather vane, you see the classic weather vane, always pointing off a way to lead you along the flyway. Turn to face the side of you. Would it be enough for me to lead your way? Okay, and of course I'm going to assume these are all, you know, she's not actually a physical weather vane. To say the very least. I'm going to assume that's not what this song is trying to say. Would it be enough, you know, for me to lead your way? I'll stay afraid in weekday. The animation is so good. Just, you know, obviously the rain coming down. So come what may, I reach for what remains. God, the rhymes and the lyrics are just so good. Flavor Folly, I don't think, has a miss. I don't think Flavor Folly has missed on a single song ever. I honestly don't. Like, just every song of theirs is so good. Like, they do not miss. It's like, oh, and this one, obviously, All their songs are so deep too. Like obviously you think of their songs, you think of Static. Like Static's oh 1, 2, 3, and it's like, but Static has such a a deep meaning to it, just like all of their songs do. Like obviously the song about Teto, and she's singing basically about her fame and how she can't control her life now that she's gotten more popular, and just they're fun songs, but they all have such a deep meaning. Yeah, they're very they don't put out a lot of songs. It's not like they're mass producing them, but they do definitely value quality over quantity with their songs. Right. There it is. Bop. Okay, nice chorus. That was a beautiful chorus, man. Okay, I see what you were mentioning now before what you were talking about originally. I do see what you meant now. Okay, we'll go back right here. So I reached for what remains. So didn't you see the news today? The animation is beautiful, man. We've been watching a lot of songs lately where, the actual animation, you don't have kind of that full completed drawing. They almost kind of use more of a sketch. And we've been seeing that, I think, we've been seeing that more and more in animation. From what I'm seeing is that they're using almost the pre-drawn sketches, as the actual animation. And it continues to work. Like, you don't have to have the most detailed, physically, visually pleasing animation. It's just simple stuff like this, and I think it works. My interpretation on my listens, keep in mind I haven't analyzed the lyrics all that much, was Lost, but that's probably driven by my personal life. I was kind of thinking that originally. Obviously, I gotta listen to the full song. I'm not even a minute into the, the 4 minutes. But we'll keep going here. So didn't you see the news today? I heard they said it looked like rain, and well, in my case today, snow. All the words I left unsaid and see, this is kind of the lyric that I was also initially thinking that. All the words I left unsaid that day. That is something you'll hear a lot with people who basically said, will be like, I wish I had told you this before because I never got to see you again. So all the words I left unsaid that day. Stain the sidewalk, drop by drop with gray. And then O. Rain or shine, I'm by your side. So why won't you look my way? Yeah, like I said, there's a lot of song. The weather forecast calling for another cloudy day. And I guess something you could probably interpret from this, if we're talking about, they lost someone, is basically saying, the weather forecast is calling for another cloudy day. They're not actually speaking, about the weather. They're basically saying, their own forecast, their mood for the day, or, how they're feeling. Their weather forecast is how they're feeling, and it's calling for another cloudy day, another rainy day, because, if they lost somebody, then that's going to be how they feel for a while, is, they're going to feel like they have a cloud above their head. And so if that's how we're, interpreting this, like I said, we're only a minute into the song, there could be a lot more to kind of break this down, but just based off, kind of the initial feeling is that, yeah, they're going through loss, and so every single day feels like a cloudy day, no matter what the weather actually is. I mean, I've definitely felt that way before, where, something happened, or I lost somebody. I remember when my great-grandmother died back in 2017, she died on Christmas Eve, and, for a 13-year-old, what Christmas is supposed to be, one of the best days of the year. You think I woke up on Christmas like, yay, it's Christmas? No. And like I said, one of the, top days of the year, one of the happiest days of the year where you would think, hey, sunshine in your head, it was No, I didn't even want to wake up that day because I didn't care if it was Christmas at this point. I just lost my great-grandmother. So, I mean, that's definitely, you know, valid feelings. It is. Alright, let's resume from here. Hey, the glasses. Okay, mine. I love the lyrics. It's all storm related. Hey. Okay, I want to just pause there. This is such a greatly written song. You know, a lot of songs, you know, when they have, you know, the title, you know, they'll have one or two references, I feel like, to the song. You know, and yeah, you know, you can vouch it out. You know, losing a friend, a partner, yeah. Like I said, you know, I've talked to you guys lately about, you know, how I just lost who I consider my best friend, you know? And it's been a challenge to get out of my own head over that. So yeah, I mean, it is. But speaking about the writing of the song, is that every single verse, every single lyric has something to do, like, weather related. And that's hard to do. Like, it can, like, maybe a verse here and there, or, you know, a lyric here and there, a bar or two, you can kind of keep it on topic, but then you usually kind of go a different way. But the fact that every single lyric, they've, like, remained on this topic of weather and all these, like, different things. It's so impressive. So obviously, so that evening, just me and you do rosy tinted hues. And, you know, we'll kind of go, obviously, we'll talk about too. So a promise of fairer winds that never blew. So, you know, the kind of the forecast of, hey, they said there was going to be winds, and they never came. And then it goes to rain. So Vermilion claims to say the sun will stay, and yet my heart holds close the storm as it breaks. So basically, kind of what I'm hearing is, you know, they were forecasting. I have an idea. I might. Blah, 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 blah. I might know what the song's talking about. So we're talking about. They say fairer winds were gonna blow. That the sun was gonna stay, and then we get into this lyric, and yet my heart holds close the storm as it breaks. And we'll go just a little bit, and I'm gonna talk about it. Kind of what I'm kind of getting at here. I could live to be a hurricane. You see the hurricane, obviously, I'm assuming this song talked about because we had gotten such bad, you know, we've gotten some really bad hurricanes over the last few years. This year's actually been pretty calm. So turn into a tempest, violent, silent in the eye, all whirling, gusting, weathering. Could it be enough to change the way you use my name? And I have a theory that I'm gonna go over here. I'll be back in 1 second. All right, here's my theory. I do have a theory here. So, just kind of going based off of these lyrics here. Or maybe I'm thinking. So obviously, you know, she was with her partner. You know, the weather forecast was saying, hey, it's going to be light winds, it's going to be a sunny day. And just maybe possibly her partner went out. And then, you know, that weather forecast turned out to be not true. You know, and, you know, a very bad storm hit. And maybe she lost her partner in that storm. Is that maybe what I'm getting at here? Is that maybe, kind of, sort of? Like I said, I could be completely wrong on that, but just in general, maybe she's thinking she wants to be, you know, and then she's thinking, you know what, I'm going to become a weather girl to prevent this from happening to anybody else. Maybe. That's just kind of what I'm getting at, you know, kind of from the lyrics here. Basically, you know, she was saying, you know, these calm winds never came. They said the sun was gonna come out, but then, you know, Vermilion claims this. Just kind of look at so a promise of fairer winds that never blew, and then, you know, And then the next lyric, Vermilion claims the sun will stay, and yet my heart holds close the storm as it breaks. Like I said, that's just kind of, maybe I could be completely wrong on that, but that's just from obviously initial first watch through. That's kind of what I'm getting at for this song. I don't know what this means though. Tornado. Alright, back to the chorus. There's a lot that's we're gonna have to read here. So let's go back a little bit. My heart holds close to storm equals suppressing feelings. It could be, yeah. Definitely could be. Like I said, Flavor Folly always has deep songs as well. So there's definitely a lot of different ways you can, interpret their songs, I feel. So could it be enough to change the way you use my name? And then obviously we go back into that chorus. But first you got remain in weekday. I'm trying to kind of think about what that could mean. And that I'm okay. Which usually, if somebody's telling you I'm okay, odds are they're not okay. It's just how it is. Odds are if they're saying they're okay, they're not okay. So I stay for all that aches. Then you jump back into the chorus. So didn't you see the news today? I heard that they said it looked like rain. All the words I left unsaid that day stained the sidewalk drop by drop with gray. So obviously it's the same chorus as before, Rain or shine, my heart won't dry. I think this is a little bit different. I don't remember if this was... Is this different from the initial chorus? No, it's not. Oh no, it is. It is. So the first chorus was rain or shine, I'm by your side. So why won't you look my way? And then the second chorus here was rain or shine, my heart won't dry, so why can't I look away? Can you react to Goodbye by Circus P? I will definitely add it to the list. We'll do that next. So yeah, so why can't I look away? And then, so just a slight change in the lyrics there. The weather forecast is calling for another cloudy day. And I want to read all of this here. So it looks like we just got still a lot of mist and no... Okay, hold on. Yeah, I think this is going to get some information here. Alright. Thank you and good evening. Here to bring you the weather support for the 7 p.m. news. As we saw this morning, still a lot of mist and fog, especially up north. No sign of that clearing anytime soon. Low 60s with some light drizzles. Basically across the entire region here. Temperatures, it's kind of blocked. Wednesday morning, some rain showers. It's looking for a wet week. For here, up here past the river, it's not much better. We're expecting some thunderstorms. And so, in the big capitals, you get the lyrics. Still a lot of mist and fog, especially up north. No sign of that clearing anytime soon. Yeah, I'm trying to see. Okay. I don't really want to presume just yet. Tonight will be mostly cloudy with a chance of showers mostly in the afternoon. Tomorrow we'll definitely see showers, almost a 100% chance of rain with lows dropping to around 40 in the afternoon, so don't forget your umbrella, folks. South winds will be around 15 miles per hour, and we're looking about 3 to 4 inches of precipitation. Looking forward to the forecast for the rest of the week. There's a risk of rain. Yeah, something tells me this storm was a lot more severe than they were letting on. That's really what I'm getting at from the song. See what we got here. Bit of a change in beat here. No sign of that clearing anytime soon. Huh. Oh, that's hold on. Oh, hold on. That one's new. Alright, so low pressure spinning around, bringing rain showers, and note the risk of heavy downpour and scattered thunderstorms in the evening coming in from the west. We'll be seeing some gusty winds, even some hail. It's not looking very pleasant. Unfortunately, it's not much better the rest of the week. Rainstorms continuing to move south across the region. We could see as much as 2 to 3 inches over the next 5 days. So very bad weather. We're getting at some very bad weather is what I'm seeing here. Okay, that's the same one there. Not looking much better, or not looking very pleasant. This is interesting. Florida, okay? First alert weather. Okay, this animation is really cool. I am very much enjoying this animation. Like, this is actually such an enjoyable animation to look at. So just kind of looking at it. So obviously there's not a lot of lyrics here, but you just kind of get all of these different, you know, news reports of the weather. And you can kind of see the weather is kind of continuing to worsen as the song goes on. You know, you kind of go from chances of showers in the early afternoon to, hey, there's going to be a lot of rain. Then it goes into, okay, hey, thunderstorms and hail. You can kind of see all of the different maps that you're seeing. You know, the umbrella flying around. Obviously, a flying umbrella, pretty big indication of something. But one I wanted to really pause on here was, yeah, 2 to 3 inches over the next 5 days. Which 2 to 3 inches may not seem like a lot, but that will cause very heavy flooding. So obviously you kind of got, you know, the forecast here, you know, your 8-day forecast, the 7-day forecast. And then obviously this is a pretty clear picture of a massive hurricane slamming into the side of Florida, which happens pretty often in Florida, to say the very least. Yeah, so obviously weathergirl. Something tells me I have a feeling that the character that's being portrayed in this story lost somebody to the hurricane in Florida. I guess maybe that's just kind of my initial. I just feel like that's my initial thoughts from this song, is kind of what I'm getting at. But let's got about a minute and a half left. Let's kind of see what happens. The airport sign. It's been raining this entire music video too, if you really look at it. Plane going up in the sky. Oh. Oh, okay. Okay, this just sounds like a real person singing. Holy shit. Wow. Okay. That may be the most realistic synth V Vocaloid I've ever heard. What the fuck? If you would have shown me to that, even as a Vocaloid reactor, no shot in hell I would have told you that's a Vocaloid singing. No shot. I mean, what the hell? That was insane. For this part, I've heard they recorded a real person singing, then used that as a bass. They had to have done something, dude. Because there is no way in hell that's a Vocaloid. Or Synth V. There's no way in hell. No shot. That's a real, that has to be a real person. So you see one of those little, obviously, the animation. It's not a very complicated animation, but it's a very soothing animation. It really is. Like, this is a very good... It's very calming, especially for what this song, you know, is about. But, like I said, you don't need the most complicated, over-the-top animation for every single song that is animated. Something like this, and honestly, a song like this, I think this simple animation works for so well. And obviously you go into kind of the recording, and then you go into this, like, this ultra realistic sounding, you know, didn't you see the news today? I heard they said it looked like rain. I want to see if there's any difference here. All the words I left unsaid that day. Stain the sidewalk, drop by drop with gray. Doesn't look like it. Rain or shine, I'm by your side, so why won't you look my way? The weather forecast calling for another. That's a little different. So the weather forecast calling for another, and then the animation here too, kind of going from this almost kind of like a frown, and then kind of changing over to a bit of a smirk. I guess not even a smirk, just a full-blown smile. Flavor Folly picking off where Mitchie M left off. Yeah, pretty much. We got a little bit of this song left. Let's see what we got. It's so good sounding. Especially because it sounds so different from how she sounds now. This is different. Okay. Right before, I'm gonna finish this song off, one last chorus, but there's just a again, they're just very slightly changing a pain smile. It definitely could be. It definitely could be. It almost looks like, you know, they're kind of in the middle of, you know, the rainstorm now, just kind of laughing, like, ha 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 ha. You know, smiling, laughing, but I definitely feel like it's definitely more of a forced and painful smile than anything. Didn't you see the news today? I heard they said it looked like rain. All the words I left unsaid that day. Stain the sidewalk drop by drop with gray. And then obviously you got that slight change in the chorus here, where vivid skies may pass me by, but even still I'll stay. The weather forecast is calling for another cloudy day. See, there's a couple lyrics in here that make me think I'm wrong about what I'm thinking. But I can't think of anything else other than, you know, they lost somebody in a storm that had an inaccurate forecast. You know, the weather forecast is calling for another cloudy day, and I'm assuming it just wasn't another cloudy day. And I'm assuming she's basically saying, you know, I wish I had been by your side instead of, you know, I never got to say goodbye, I never got to say what I wanted to say. That's just what I'm getting. It's the only thing I can really get at. And honestly, I'm sure that you guys in the comment section will definitely let me know if you have a different... I mean, obviously, I'll read the comments too. Like I said, loving someone but you can't confess. Could be that, yeah. Or, you know, like I said, you know, you loved them and then, yeah, they were taken away before you could confess. That could definitely make sense. Like I said, we'll read the comments, but definitely let me know in the comment section below, you know, what you guys think. What's this song called? This song is called Weather Girl, featuring Eleanor Forte by Flavor Folly. And yeah, so let's just finish this song off. Someday. That was a very beautiful song, and thank you for recommending that. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. And spoken for by Cosnatodo. Okay, so yeah, so we'll go back. Another part of the most replayed. So yeah, we'll definitely go, you know, we'll go over this last part of the lyrics here. I went a little too far back. Whoops. So obviously, look through me a window pane, colored as a sky entirely filled with clouds I might be. Everything that I can be, if it's not enough, I trust the sky will open up. I'm assuming saying, you know, I trust that eventually one day I'll be able to, you know, open up again and hopefully... I don't want to say move on, but kind of... I'm trying to think of the right word for it. But basically, you know, one day I'll be able to, you know, be happy and have, you know, the clouds will depart over me again. You know, be able to have a sunny day. Even with you gone. And then someday, but it's not going to be anytime soon. to say the very least. Yeah, that was... What a good song. I mean, that was such a beautiful song. I want to read the comments. So yeah, in a segment where she's singing softly, she sounds more distinctly human. I think that's really neat detail. Unbelievably human. I can't believe Florida is canon. Okay. Can I just say the clever use of the line, could it be enough to change the way you use my name during the hurricane part? Hurricanes are constantly named after names used by people. So to ask if I were to live as a hurricane, how would you use my name? Would you think of me? And what would you think, fondly or in fear? I didn't even think of that. Some people are smart as shit, man. Some of these people are just unbelievably smart. I literally love the way Eleanor is tuned. It's not realistic, but in a way that somehow conveys more emotion than it would have. Well, I won't argue it was pretty realistic in that one part. The fact that every single frame could be used as a wallpaper, it's very, very real. I'm sure if it wasn't the intention, given how many people have been reading the song, that as a loss of romantic love. Okay, so I was pretty right there. But to me, this song is a perfect representation of the grief you feel when you lose someone close to you. I thought that the first time I listened to this, it's really cemented in my mind now that I've really experienced grief myself once more. All the words I left unsaid, stain the sidewalk, drop by drop, in particular hits really hard. There are a lot of things that people wish they could have said or done before losing someone close to them. But once they're dead, there's not much to be done about it, so that is all that is left is regret. Okay, so I think we're on the right track there. I think we were on the right track with this song. Is that it's definitely about, you know, losing somebody and, you know, having grief, having that gray cloud over your head. You know, I might have been adding a little too much about it, saying, you know, maybe they lost somebody due to, you know, an incorrect forecast. But I honestly feel like the point of this song is, you know, they lost somebody due to, you know, some sort of natural disaster event, or weather event. And, you know, they're having a hard time getting over that grief, thinking about what they wish they would have said. I mean, again, that's just kind of my point of view, but, yeah. I hope you guys enjoyed this reaction. If you did, obviously make sure to hit that like button down below and subscribe. Also, join my Discord, link is in the description, and links to this video will be at the top of the description as well. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you guys in the next reaction.